The strategies that worked as a child don't work as a teenager. The strategies that you develop as a teenager are not going to work as a young adult, and then on and on. When you get yourself to be successful, the minute you hit a wall, that means it's time to level up.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Super Entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Sally Reid. Sally's a powerhouse when it comes to helping high achievers break through the mental and emotional blocks that hold them back. She's worked with top entrepreneurs and executives, guiding them to align their mindset and energy with their goals for amazing results. So I welcome you, Sally, to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
I just love sharing the news that anybody can do anything as long as nothing's in the way.
Yeah, nothing's the way. You just shared a story too. If you want to mention it again, you're talking about a client, how she's in the process right now as we speak, signing a major deal between specific countries that'll change her life. And she's only 21. You want to speak about that quickly?
Oh, certainly. This young woman, and she's still a student at uni. I love this, but I've been working with her since she just started uni, and she's just finishing up now. She's 21, and she had this brilliant idea. And because of her ethnicity, she'd been taught that women don't step up. She's from the Middle East, and we've been getting past that, going, just because you happen to be in a female body does not mean that your brain isn't just as good as anybody else's. And as we've gone past this, her ideas are coming faster and faster. And about, I'm going to say 2 months ago, she had this amazing joint venture idea between 3 countries that don't normally do joint ventures. Mm-hmm. And it's food distribution, which is even more important in that sector of the world. And she's inking it literally as we speak. And it's making her so much money.
I wish her all the best. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. So I know you work with high achievers and you guide them. Can you share if there's some sort of a lesser known or something that is not in public domain, I guess you would say, about internal struggles that even the most successful people face, and how do you help them overcome?
You want to know something really amazingly ironic?
Yeah.
The more successful you are, the more the garbage fears that you've been trying to overcome come back to bite you and haunt you and tell you things. Everybody's talking about fake it till you make it, but that means you have to climb over all those things you've been trying to ignore since you were basically a toddler.
Ignoring doesn't work. Yeah.
No.
It gives it more power.
Yeah, it's like a splinter on your foot if you ignore it. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. So is there any specific struggles that you notice that are most common?
Yeah. It's always 3 major emotions: fear, sadness, and or grief. And then it's like the belief of not enough. There's never enough. I'm not enough. There's the black hole.
Worthiness?
Yeah. It's the black hole, I call it, because it's a black hole that can never be filled.
So, but they made it though. They're successful. How did that occur?
We've all heard this. The things that got you where you are not going to get you to the next level. We've all heard this a million times. The strategies that worked as a child don't work as a teenager. The strategies that you develop as a teenager are not going to work as a young adult, and then on and on. When you get yourself to be successful, the minute you hit a wall, that means it's time to level up. That means it's time to go ahead and, what shall I say, just allow the things that you've been trying not to face to be faced.
So it could be that while they were going on an incline in their business at that time, they were really enthusiastic, really excited, and they were making things happen, for example, but then they hit a bump where these fears and these blockages started showing up at a specific level in that climb. And that's where they need help to clear those out.
Yes, and I'm going to yes and.
Okay.
Remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you can be having an amazing time building your business, but your personal life is pure shite, right? Or you could be having an amazing personal life, but things are going to the potty in your business. That's all you. You've created all of that because everything you have in your life is there because you chose it. And so if it's something you don't want, what is it in you that requires that you choose something you don't want? And that's what I find. I find that thing and I can find it in 5 minutes or less. It's amazing. It stands out like a sore thumb to me because I have this ability to read energy through space and time. And it's like almost following a flowing river. And then, oop, there's the rock. Oop, there's another rock. That type of thing. Because it creates ripples.
So I don't want to put you on the spot. Can you read me and share?
Actually, you don't want me to do that. I'm just going to tell you.
I
get hard and personal very quickly, and I'm afraid that it probably wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay, no worries. We'll do it offline.
If you don't mind. But we can do this later.
Not at all.
I'm not on camera.
Yeah, no worries at all.
It's always the pointy things.
Yeah, no worries. We'll discuss when we're not recording or another day. Many business owners and entrepreneurs or founders, they have this very deep programming or conditioning that limits their potential. And they want to consciously do so much, and they believe they can do so much. And that's why we have such an incredible amount of people in business. They're in a job and they say, no, business is for me. It's a calling, it's a feeling they get. And consciously, when they think through their intellect and they realize, yeah, I could do this, it's good. But then there's these blockages, these beliefs that don't allow them to get to that level because there's that misalignment between the conscious and the subconscious mind. Can you share how you identified those blocks that are holding them back? Someone could actually hear this and see if they could find them themselves or locate if something that they need to work on or get help about.
Oh, certainly. Now, not all help is the same. And if you are a naturally intuitive person, as most entrepreneurs are, you have a certain sense of self. And the last thing you want to do is dwell on the past. And so pulling up the past doesn't seem to help this type of person. But I can say noticing the clues in the present does. So the first thing you're going to notice is your self-talk. The crap you say to yourself is something you would never say to anybody else. Yeah, it's all stories. It's garbage. So notice that. You don't have to do anything about it. Just simply notice it.
Just be aware of it.
Yeah. Start talking to yourself out loud, like in the morning when you're getting dressed or getting ready for the day. If you, those thoughts that go through your head, if you start saying those things out loud, you'd be like, man, that person's insane. Why would they think like that? That is the narrative that you are using to tell yourself what to expect and what to see. And we just don't pay attention to it. And that's one of the most damaging things. It lies to us. It's terrible.
It's subtle, right?
Sometimes it's not that subtle. The crap that people say to themselves can be horrible.
Quite loud about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the next thing you want to notice is, have there been patterns? Which is why people love to keep diaries, to keep journals, is to notice the patterns. That pattern is always you rising to a level and then doing something to throw any type of barrier to it. Like, for example, I see this in like people who are on the way up They'll have something go really great, and then boom, everything falls apart. Then it'll go really great, and then boom, it'll fall apart again. You did that. You created that. You made that.
Mm.
And so the sooner you point the finger back to you, the faster things get solved, instead of going, they did this and they did that. And that's the next one. Waiting for permission from everybody else around you to act is an act of fear, is what it is. It's you giving into your fears. I see that a lot, and I bet you do too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's an ocean of a world within. And what you just said, bringing that focus inwards, becoming more aware, is super important. Many of us don't realize that it's necessary, or they're just too busy on the outside to even do that kind of work or even become aware of those patterns. Any recommendations for them?
Oh, certainly.
Mm.
If you are a person who tends towards ADHD, which is not uncommon for a lot of entrepreneurs, the one thing that really helps you is getting your brain to do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. That's like a training that, and I have ADHD, that we struggle with our whole entire lives. Is like, I have to do this now. I'd rather do something else, but I have to do this now. So it's not motivation, it's focus. And so I've developed a number of 1 to 2 minute exercises that really help people get back in touch, because all goodness comes from inside. If anybody needs to connect with something, it starts here. And every major scripture says the kingdom of heaven is on the inside. I mean, you can go to any of the old original 5,000 years ago, Isaiah. You get it. So it is simply a fact that when you focus on where you are and who you are, so many people don't know who they are. They only know who their masks are. Like, I am a husband, I am a wife, I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur. They don't know who they are. And that's exactly what a midlife crisis is about. You've got all the way there and went, oh, snap, I don't know who I am. And so starting there helps. It truly does.
How do you help clients align their energy with their goals? And what kind of impact are we looking at on their overall success with that alignment?
It's absolutely huge.
So
I'll
could you
give you a
talk
client
about
story.
that? It's interesting.
It's so huge. This is a client story that her mother brought this child to me. She was a child at the time, 16. And this 16-year-old girl was too afraid to go to high school. She was too afraid to learn to drive. She was too afraid to basically be alone in the house, to function as a human. And her mother had taken her to every child psychologist, to nothing had worked. She had tried everything, even acupuncture. It wasn't working. So she thought she'd bring her to this crazy energy lady healer. I worked with her a few times, and what her issue was that she was highly creative, highly intuitive, but she didn't have any boundaries. She was absorbing everybody else's energy and trying to process it as her own. So I simply just rearranged how her energy processes. And now, today, she's married. She has a child. She has a songwriting and record label career. She's a country music artist. And I just saw she is now creating the 3rd annual Women of Country Music, where she gets all these great women and they all do a music festival in Jackson Hole. And it's starting in September, so just a few days away, for the 3rd year in a row. And this is a woman who could not leave her house.
Oh, so what is entailed in this actual alignment with the energy?
Whoa, that's like saying, how does my car work? A lot of different ways. Basically, I'm going to break it down to basically. Okay. We have a physical body that has physical needs that often we ignore. So that's one part of aligning our energy. You got to feed the thing and exercise it. Truly. It's very important.
These are great tips, by the way. Thank you.
It's true. Yeah. If you want to maintain peak, you have to feed and exercise your body, and then you have to let it rest when it asks for rest. Living on drugs and alcohol is not the way to go. It's not long-term strategy, right? But the next thing is you cannot ignore your need for, and Tony Robbins talks about this, connection, belonging, significance. You get it? You can't ignore any of those other parts of yourself. And so when you are fully aligned, it simply means that all the parts of you are ticking and pointing in the same direction. Because when people talk about quote unquote self-sabotage, that means there's a part of them that's ticking in the other direction, or a part of them that's being ignored and it's flatlining. So what I do is I get every aspect of them aligned. And here's the problem. Everybody knows what to do, but nobody necessarily wants to do it in the moment, right? So that is an indicator of a misalignment of energy. If your brain wants to do something, but you're feeling resistance to doing it, that's a clue. That means there's a misalignment in there. I know what to do. I know I'm supposed to exercise, or I know I'm supposed to do that. All we got to do is find the thing that's stopping you, and it's not laziness. It's something else.
It's more on the emotional side of things. It's in the emotional mind, the subconscious, when we're programmed, it's a condition. If we operate in a certain way, we want to do something new or different consciously, our body won't move because the body's programmed by the subconscious.
Somewhat, yeah. But it's more like we are all trained from a very young age to do what we're told and ignore everything else. We're all trained to do that. And that a great entrepreneur does not make. That's all I can say. And the whole rest of our lives, we spend trying to uncover the brilliance that we carefully covered up in childhood. It's true. And it's not really our subconscious mind. It could be just our training, our rule. It could be, it's a multitude of things that cause us to act in a certain way. It could be that we feel like we're betraying our family if we rise above them. It could be a number of things. But that's what I do. I find the one thing that changes everything in a person. And then we don't have to talk about it. I just tweak it until it's no longer a thing. I know it sounds really weird, but there's been too many successful client stories to say, yeah, that is weird, but it's not. And I do it.
So you look at the belief, what the belief they have.
Oh, I look at the outcome of the belief. I know this really sounds weird.
But the foundation of the outcome is belief.
Right. Belief, experience.
Actual belief, the true belief that governs the body and how we move is subconscious, though, unconscious. And that's what we pick up as kids up to age 8. Our environment, all these little things that we pick up hold us back as adults because we have that inner child growing up.
Yeah, that child, they call it the inner child because it hasn't grown up yet. Whatever didn't happen is still in there.
It stopped.
It's still in there.
He's still there. He needs attention. He's loved. That's it.
Some of it, yeah. You know what else is interesting?
Yeah.
I have found in people the echoes of their circumstances at birth. Were they an unwanted child? Was their mother in fear when they were pregnant? I have found that. I have also found, and this is really weird too, I have found fears and problems that were passed down genetically in people. This is very common in African American people have so much internalized pain. Jewish people, I have found so much stuff in there. And I'm not saying that this is just because you're Jewish or Black, this is going to happen. No, it's just that those two groups of people suffered a lot. And I've found a lot of unconscious holding back, hiding in there.
Yeah. And we call it just different terminologies. Everybody has their own way of explaining, but we call it the paradigm. It's just a fancy word. But at the end of the day, cultures have it, individuals have it, companies have it, and they're passed on genetically and environmentally. And then we spend our entire life without experts like you. If we don't get the help, we could be carrying that baggage throughout our experiences in each moment and living based on that code. And when you release that code, you release their trueness, because the trueness is just incredible. When it shines, you become unstoppable.
The young woman I was talking about was cutting her first big deal.
Yeah.
I met her when she was in her last form at school. She was her mother was, she couldn't study. She was just everywhere. She didn't know what to do with her. And her mother wanted me to work with her daughter to try to get her to sit down and do her studies. That's all. That's all. And she just had so much brilliance that it was almost impossible to contain. And these people get punished. They just do their whole lives. And so there are people that are so shockingly intuitive and brilliant that they're not designed to live in our world. So the world kind of scrunches them down like a paper ball, and then they're expected to unfold perfectly. No, it doesn't work like that. And this young woman, I've worked with her now through 4 years of uni, and she got into Oxford. She's going to school there. She's been invited to apply for Rhodes Scholar. This is her brilliance.
Love it, Sally.
And so all we work on is unraveling the places that are holding her back. And every time she soars higher and higher, it's all in her. I didn't put any of it in there. And that's what we find with amazingly intuitive and brilliant people, that life crushes them down and they don't even realize they've been crushed.
We see a lot of experts or people in this field try to impress new concepts upon the individual or client to help them get the results, but it goes in that same vicious circle because they are placing these new concepts, new ideas on top of the code or the gunk or the barriers, the blocks. And what happens is it doesn't last because it ends up being temporary. They have that grit and they keep going, but then it still stops them energetically, like you mentioned, energetically speaking. And
then they hate themselves.
And the game changer for me was that realization is that I need to work. And that's what changed everything in my life, actually, because all the work that I was doing to impress new code and new programming, it worked like boom, it started working like quick because I started clearing out those blocks. There's many terms for limitations.
I call it mismatched learning.
Mismatch. Yeah, that's a beautiful term as well. And they're there and they're waiting for us to notice them, but nobody ever tells us to pay attention to them. Like, you just have to not ignore it, because whatever you ignore, it becomes bigger. So
it ends up being a messy divorce is what it ends up being. Or a failed company, or it ends up being really disgusting.
Yeah, but it changes everything. And I love what you're saying, because it is that it's like painting your house fresh. It just makes everything fresh, brand new slate, feeling that way. And you feel unstoppable. You truly just feel like you could do anything. And that's when you realize the trueness is showing.
Yeah, that's true. I do several layers when I work with clients. So there's what I call the cleaning the kitchen layer. So you got junk in there and you can't cook in a dirty kitchen.
Yeah.
And then there is the let's remodel the kitchen. There's that. And that's what I did with the young woman. We did the remodeling of the kitchen. But a lot of people there, I was working with an author who just couldn't seem to get to sell anything. She was a struggling author. And I worked with her. And we did a kitchen cleaning. And then we did a little tiny bit of remodel. And now she's a New York Times bestselling author.
I love it. Yeah. You unleashed her power.
Yeah, that's
helped her. And it was her. She did it.
She did it. I can't add brilliance to anybody, but the brilliance is already there.
It's already there.
All I do is clean the kitchen so you can cook.
I love it. I love it, Sally. One last question before we go. Can you speak about gut feeling? Because a lot of successful people speak about and live by. Like Warren Buffett, he mentioned it before in the past about how he trusts his gut when he makes decisions. And it saved my life in the past. It saved me. It actually increased me a few times, and I live by it, and I'm understanding it more, and I'm getting more comfortable with it and that communication style, how it is, because you just have to go back and find out when the gut feeling was coming and a decision you made and how was the outcome, to understand how that unique feeling really is. I went through all that process, and I'm very comfortable with it now, and I love it. So I want to hear from your expertise about the gut feeling for entrepreneurs.
Perfect. And I'm glad you brought this up. Okay. Remember when we're trained to follow rules? The first thing that has to get trained out of us is to ignore our inner guidance, because that's what gets us into trouble. I got a million spankings for following my inner guidance as a child. I don't know about you. So our inner guidance goes dormant at a certain level unless it is dire and like the shiver down the spine or the sinking cold feeling. Those kind of things are like, don't sign that deal kind of things. Those are what everybody has, but people who are naturally intuitive, people who are absolutely creative, have an enhanced level of this ability. And your body, the more you honor it, and you probably notice this, the more you honor it, the more your body speaks to you. And it starts out like with the big chills, the ice down the body. Those are like, ooh, pay attention to this, is bad. That is the equivalent of a 2x4 to the back of the head. One of the things that people don't pay attention to is the pressure in the solar plexus. That is what you get first. There's a pressure in the solar plexus that says, maybe this person is trying to manipulate me and I haven't noticed yet, because that's what you feel. You feel a pressure in your gut when somebody's manipulating you. And here's the next one you feel. You'll feel, when you're going in the right direction, almost a buoyancy, a lightness in your heart. It's not quite love and it's not quite joy.
Yeah.
But it'd be like, oh, goody, somebody just gave me an ice cream cone level. It's this, I'm going to go there. That's what you're looking for
You're
your
receiving
guidance.
like a good news or a gift or something, that feeling.
Yeah, it's the feeling I'm talking about. It's just yes, go there. That's the good one. That's the one that people, the more you honor it, the better your life goes. Because there's a whole, I could talk for hours on the wisdom of the body, but essentially we have receivers everywhere. They're not just here. Our body is a gigantic receiver, which is why when you're sitting on a train, when somebody's looking at you, because your body knows it, it can feel it. And people who are entrepreneurs tend to be highly intuitive, naturally creative people. They don't like to follow the rules. They want to create their own, but they've got so much they have to climb over. And that's what I do. I help them just get it out of the way so they can be brilliant.
I believe every single human being is born intuitive. They have the intuition. It's like you mentioned, they just got to clean up a little bit and get used to it. But it's there for everyone.
Oh, of course. Well, it's a gift that we all have. It was inconvenient for people to have this. And I could get into a lot about training in order to be an employee. People don't want employees to be following their own tune. They want them to follow, you know what I mean?
Okay. Perfect. Sally, thank you so much. We keep these episodes 20 to 30 minutes as requested. So appreciate your time today. It was wonderful speaking to you and getting your intuitive views on business and human beings and how you are impacting in a big way. So I wish you all the best, and I wish you all the growth. So the bigger you get, the more people you can impact, and definitely keep in touch.
Most officially. And I do want to leave with one thing.
Please.
People forget how fast things can change.
Oh, yeah.
And in your own life, one insight changes everything. One noticing changes everything. And that's what I do. The thing that makes me so different from all other forms of working with people is the speed of the result. And that's
Perfect.
priceless to me. It's like, if you
Priceless.
want something, go
100%.
get it.
Imperial opinions.